It's a real pleasure to have a chance to chat with you this morning. I'm excited to have the opportunity to be here. I'm excited that Novell gave me the chance to chat with you. It's really a big week, I think, for news, for announcements, for firsts in many, many ways. I noticed yesterday that Novell joined OSF, Unix International, OMG. I think they were trying to join the Confederation of Swiss States as the most neutral country ever, but that announcement wasn't ready for yesterday. Microsoft, we announced our Excel version 4 product, or we are announcing our Excel version 4 product today. Very exciting new release of Excel. We're also announcing in about an hour and a half, so you're all under non-disclosure until then, that Microsoft is acquiring Fox software, the people who build the Fox Pro database product, and that'll be effective here in the next several weeks. That's being announced at the DB Expo show today. It's a big week, though, in many, many other ways. A Microsoft guy was invited to speak at a Novell Developers Conference. I consider that kind of a first. And I guess I would absolutely agree with what Daryl was saying in terms of the importance of cooperation, and I'm going to try to highlight that as I spend a few minutes talking about our strategy, about Windows, and about how Windows and NetWare work together. But I think actually the biggest news of the week, frankly, from my personal point of view, is this is the first time I've ever been invited to appear center court in a major basketball arena, and I am delighted and honored that Novell chose to do that. Well, let's get the show on the road. I'd like to start with a little bit of a view of our vision of where computing's going and what we're trying to achieve in our strategy, and then I'll talk to you a little bit specifically about some future products. About a year and a half ago, Bill Gates articulated a vision for Microsoft and for the industry, really, of delivering on what he referred to as information at your fingertips. From the standpoint of somebody technical, you can sort of scratch your head, roll your eyes at this point and go, oh my God, does that sound overreaching and over-promising and sort of like 1997 material? And in a certain sense, I'd probably agree with you. However, there are a number of important goals or ideas that this concept of information at your fingertips lays out that are very important, I think, for us and for the rest of the industry to pursue in order to deliver richer and richer solutions to our customers. Information at your fingertips is fundamentally a vision in which you let the personal computer become the first device people turn to browse, gather, retrieve information in their offices. When I'm preparing to come to the Novell Developers Conference, I should be able to turn to my PC and pose a simple query that says, show me all references to discussions with Novell in the last year. Obviously, I can turn today to the file manager in Windows and I can browse a bunch of servers that include 8.3 file names. That is not information at your fingertips. Information at your fingertips then is about making that simple, about letting PC users work together more, about letting PC users connect to other sources of data, whether they're on other PCs or up on large systems. It's about working with very rich information, because the kinds of information we want at our fingertips is not just text or graphics or chart, but it includes voice, it includes sound, it includes video, and so we really want to have a very rich platform that allows us to browse, retrieve, and access information. As a company, Microsoft is putting its energy and focus for, if you will, delivering on this vision of information at your fingertips into the Windows platform. And there's an incredible focus, I'm sure is evidence to you, behind Microsoft Windows. We have been fortunate over the course of the last 2 years that Windows has really emerged as the center point, I would say, of investment for the third-party software community in terms of their new ideas, new investments, and new thoughts. If you go to most software vendors in the industry today, and you ask them what's their #1 priority for new development, they'll tell you Windows. They may have other things that they're also working on, but Windows is priority 1, and in many cases, frankly, priority 2, priority 3. Sure, people are still maintaining their DOS applications because that puts, brings the revenue in every day. But Windows has become, in most ways, the center point for new innovation from the third-party software community. If I could just get a show of hands here briefly from the audience before I go on, how many people here are Windows users? And how many people here are Windows developers? How many people are developers who are not Windows developers? Now I know my challenge for the rest of this talk. Windows is a platform that is open to third parties. We've documented the interfaces both at the programmatic interface level to allow software vendors to create new applications, new solutions on top of Windows. We've also documented the interfaces below Windows to allow hardware vendors to innovate in terms of really bringing out exciting new hardware that gets immediate benefit through these Windows applications, which, because Windows is device independent, the applications can take immediate advantage of. Windows is an upgrade from MS-DOS. There are those people who will tell you that's a disadvantage. Windows is always limited. Windows is tied to MS-DOS. I'll give you my point of view that says, while DOS certainly presents some limitations, Windows has circumvented many of those already. I'll talk to you about implementations of Windows that bypass the rest of them in the future. But I think it is absolutely has been and remains critical to Windows' success that it is an upgrade from MS-DOS. As a guy who spent a lot of years trying to popularize another operating system that was not an upgrade from MS-DOS, I can tell you that people like the ability to stick their toe in the water, to start exploring Windows, to use it a little bit, maybe to use it just to run one application or to task switch. And then people eventually get more and more used to Windows so it becomes the center point of what they do on their desktop. So I think the upgrade from MS-DOS has been critical and will continue to be critical as we go forward. So we continue to invest in MS-DOS as a foundation for the future work that we're doing in Windows. The Windows run rates have been fairly unbelievable. We introduced Windows version 3 in May of 1990. We'll introduce Windows version 3.1 April 6th at the Spring Comdex Windows World Show. But you can see here some of the numbers. Windows has an installed base today of about 9 million users. Our forecasts and IDC forecasts are both for about 9 million new copies of Windows to be installed in the coming 12 months. There still will be another 25 million copies of MS-DOS installed in that same time frame. So it's not like we've achieved our objective to really drive Windows onto every desktop, to let every user get the benefits of graphical user interface. But it is certainly true that Windows popularity has built unbelievably. And if you compare it to some of the other graphical systems like OS/2, like the Macintosh, like Unix, Windows has really leapt to the fore in terms of a popular platform, both for end users and for developers to implement. I think this chart kind of gives you a sense of why that is. The reason why Windows has really served as a lightning rod and has attracted the best energy and thinking and creativity from software vendors is purely a financial reason. Software vendors built Windows apps. Windows has become popular. That means there's a larger market for Windows applications. And if you actually look at the Software Publishers Association numbers for dollar revenue by application category for the last 2 years, you can see that the Windows application category, not just Microsoft's Windows applications, but all Windows applications, has emerged as by far the largest market for graphical applications, bar none. In fact, while I don't have it on the chart, if you actually compare today the size of the Windows application market and the size of the MS-DOS application market, what you'll see is the size of the Windows application market is now over 50% of the size of the MS-DOS application market. That's pretty amazing, since the installed base of Windows is perhaps 11% of the installed base of MS-DOS. But it shows that not only is Windows very popular, but the people who are buying Windows are also the people who are in the market buying new applications. And I think that has really served to focus people's energy and attention on the Windows platform. That means for the developers in the audience, I encourage you to take a hard look at Windows. I encourage you to think through how you might be able to offer new and exciting solutions based around Windows. For the end users and integrators in the audience, I think it means that you can expect more and more wonderful and exciting solutions based around Windows, and so the need to learn how to support Windows, work with your internal user groups to support Windows in the Novell environment is very, very important. Windows 3.1, as I said, will be announced on April 6th. And Windows 3.1 is both a very, very exciting release, and in some senses, it's not much of a release at all. In Windows 3.1, we're not trying to boldly go where no man has gone before. Windows 3.1 is a release that is designed to target the feedback that we've received from users. We have 9 million users. We receive, on average, about 3,000 phone calls a day from end-user customers with questions, comments, suggestions, complaints about Windows. We've run numbers and numbers of Windows focus groups, usability tests, etc. So the goal really of Windows 3.1 primarily is to address the feedback that we've gotten from customers. That feedback falls primarily into two areas. Number one is usability. People have made many comments about improve the file manager, it's too slow, why can't we have persistent network connections, why is it so hard to install Windows for use off of a server, why is right? And we've tried to address those issues in Windows 3.1. The second big issue, certainly amongst Windows users, how many of the Windows users have ever received what's called an unrecoverable application error? I was afraid I could get a large number of hands on that. I think I had more hands on that than I did on the number of Windows users, actually. Windows 3.1 is designed to address the issues people are having with unrecoverable application errors. I'm not saying for sure that there'll never be, well, I know there'll never be a thing called an unrecoverable application error again, because we give better diagnostic messages. But I'm not telling you you'll never have a problem ever with Windows 3.1. But the level of protection that we provide, the level of insulation that we provide in Windows 3.1 for the operating system from applications is much improved. The ability that you have to shut down an errant application without having to reboot or restart your system is pretty nice. And maybe I'll have a chance to show you that here in just a couple of minutes. The other thing that we tried to address in Windows 3.1 is to support a richer set of hardware. And that really falls into two key categories for Windows 3.1. The first is multimedia, where we've built the multimedia extensions to Windows directly into Windows 3.1, so we can support video, sound, etc. directly from within Windows 3.1. The second thing that we've done for Windows 3.1 is build the set of extensions that allows Windows to support the pen as an input device, whether that's for handwriting, as a replacement for the mouse, to gesture, as opposed to having to use menus for editing, or simply as ink, so that you can write and have the computer record your writing or your drawings in exactly the form in which you ink them. And the pen extensions to Microsoft Windows will also become available through hardware vendors on April 6th. So that's really been the focus, if you will, for 3.1. Now, 3.1 is not the end of the line for Windows in two ways. Number one, we will continue to enhance Windows for MS-DOS. There'll be a Windows 4, there'll be a Windows 5, there'll be a Windows 6 for MS-DOS. But we also see a need, if you will, for Windows to support even more hardware. If you were to come to us today and say, look, I just